Teacher talking sports, what it does, what it do, how we living. Let's continue our NFL Mount Rushmore series. We've done 5 teams. This will be the sixth, going in alphabetical order by team name. So today is the Bears, Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears have had quite the lengthy history, over 100 years, have been around since 1920. They've only won one Super Bowl and 2 appearances, but they won a lot of championships pre-Super Bowl era. Total as a team, 9. So, of course, when you've had over 100 years of history, it's hard to single out 4 players that are the best of all time in franchise history. But I'm attempting to do that today, so let's get into it. I'll be naming the players in alphabetical order by last name. As always, I'll have a bunch of honorable mentions at the end. Let's start with Dick Butkus. Dick Butkus is one of the most famous players from his era, was the 3rd overall selection in the 1965 draft by the Bears, inducted into the Hall of Fame, first ballot in 1979. Altogether, Butkus played for 9 seasons, the first 8 of which he was a Pro Bowler, and in 5 of those he was a first-team All-Pro as well. Started all 119 games of his career, was a sure tackler. People were afraid to go down the middle when he was manning the field. He no defensive player of the year back in his era, but he was 4th in MVP voting in 1968, 6th in 1969, and 5th in 1970. So even as defensive player, he was shown a ton of love in MVP voting. Just an historic figure in Bears lore and had to be included. 22 interceptions for his career. 5 as a rookie, covered 27 fumbles, taking 1 for a score. Had 11 sacks in his career. Dick Butkus, one of the best linebackers in NFL history. Next, we got Sweetness, Walter Payton. How could you have a Bears Mount Rushmore and not have the Sweetness, Walter Payton, who unfortunately passed away at just 45 years old in 1999. Payton was selected 4th overall by the Bears in 1975. Played 13 seasons, all for the Bears. Was a 9-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro. Was on their Super Bowl championship team from the 1985 season. Just an historic career. 1977 MVP, Hall of Fame, all 1970s and 1980s team. Was the Offensive Player of the Year that same season, 1977. Altogether with the Bears, 13 seasons, 16,726 rushing yards with 110 rushing touchdowns, while adding 492 receptions for 4,538 receiving yards and 15 receiving touchdowns. Was the all-time leading rusher for quite some time until Emmitt Smith surpassed him. He's still second all-time, though. He had over 1,000 yards in 10 of his 13 seasons, including 1977 when he led the league with both 1,852 rushing yards and 14 rushing touchdowns in a 14-game season. Sweetness, Walter Payton, easy choice for the Bears Mount Rushmore. Next, we got another linebacker, Mike Singletary. Singletary was drafted 38th overall in the 2nd round in 1981. Played all 12 of his seasons with the Bears before he was inducted first ballot into the Hall of Fame in 1998. In his 12 seasons, he was named a Pro Bowler in each of the last 10, and 7 of those years was also a first-team All-Pro, was a member of the Bears' 1985 championship team, made 7 first-team All-Pros, was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 1985 and 1988, the second of which he also finished 4th in MVP voting. Of course, again, not an easy feat as a defensive player. Mike Singletary was the leader of those famed Bears defenses from the 80s. and Mike Singletary was an easy choice as well for the Bears Mount Rushmore. Well, I shouldn't say easy because the Bears have had a quite the history, but obvious choice as one of the best players in franchise history, I should say. And lastly, we are going to go with Brian Urlacher, selected ninth overall by the Bears in the 2000 NFL Draft. Urlacher played all 13 of his seasons with Chicago, first ballot Hall of Famer in 2018, eight-time Pro Bowler in his 13 seasons, four-time All-First Team All-Pro, Hall of Fame All-2000s team, was the 2000 Defensive Rookie of the Year, and the 2005 Defensive Player of the Year. Bears have had quite the lengthy list of great linebackers. Three of the four on this Mount Rushmore are linebackers. Just an historic career for Urlacher. Was a member of their second Super Bowl team, which they unfortunately lost in the 2006 season to the Colts, but was also a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year once. Finished fourth another season. Had over 100 tackles in 9 of his 13 seasons. 22 career interceptions, taking 2 for scores. Also has 2 fumble recoveries for touchdowns and 41.5 sacks for his career. Brian Urlacher is the fourth and final member of my Bears Mount Rushmore. Again, a subjective list. Definitely let me know in the comments if you disagree who you want to include. I included Dick Butkus, Walter Payton, Mike Singletary, and Brian Urlacher. As I mentioned in the beginning, the Bears have had quite the long history, which makes it always challenging. Do include some of the old time players who are quite historic. I'll get into some of them in honorable mentions. Maybe you would. Honorable mentions include Dan Hampton, Lance Briggs, Matt Forte, Gale Sayers. Do include him despite a shortened career. Steve McMichael, Richard Dent, Jay Hilgenberg, Olin Kreutz, Sid Luckman, one of those old timers, still considered the best quarterback in franchise history. Mike Ditka, Bronco Nagurski, another all-time legend from back in the past. Bulldog Turner, Red Grange, and Jimbo Covert. Let me know in the comments who is on your Bears Mount Rushmore. Those are the 4 I chose. Again, not an easy endeavor for a team that's been around for more than a century. Let me know in the comments. I'll be doing the Cincinnati Bengals next. 6 teams down, 26 to go. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.